Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here live on a Tuesday, August 23rd.
With a capital T.
It is because it is week 0 of the college football season. We'll have our college football episode for you.
Not a Florida State fan, but that's just synonymous with college football, I guess.
I was like, well, we are going to be talking about MLB today, Joe. We didn't know if you're
Bravo
shout out to the Atlanta Braves there. Yes. No, it is week 0 of NCAA football, so we will have our football preview episode for you later in the week, but have 2 jam-packed episodes for you the rest of the week. Going to talk some golf, MLB, give you our preseason week 2 takeaways this episode. But of course, before we get into that, Jell, it's our question of the day. And I want to take you back to your time when you were still living in the Midwest. So I want you to envision yourself in the Midwest and
reverse.
which of these 2 things is better? A warm breeze showing the first signs of spring. You step outside in March and you get that nice, like, warm air, or you walk outside and feel the cool air signaling the beginning of fall. Which of those 2 is better?
Okay, for me, I prefer fall over spring as a season, but fall means that winter is coming.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones reboot has just begun, so that was somewhat topical. So for me, it's, I love that crisp, that first, you step outside at 9:30 a.m., cup of coffee before you, to get your day started, and that feels amazing on a crisp fall morning. But to me, that signals impending doom, and so for me, it's that first warm day in spring where I can finally put my shorts on, when it's 50 degrees out. I mean, in college, 45, 50 degrees on that first 45, 50 degree day, it's shorts weather.
Yes.
So
and it's funny because once you come out of summer and you have a 45, 50 degree day in the fall, you're like winter coats out, bundled up, and
it's yeah. So that's when it's time to start thinking about, do I need to break out the winter coat? So it's so weird like that, how your body adjusts to the weather. But ultimately for me, it's the first time I get to wear shorts. That's the day. That's the day. That's one of the best days of the year, if not the best day of weather of the year.
Yeah, it's such a toss-up for me because, like you said, that first warm day coming out of just a brutal winter where you're like, all right, it's almost here, golf season. Usually around that time, March Madness is kicking off, baseball is underway, so there's a lot to look forward to there. But I think you touched on it, and I give the edge to that cool air of a fall morning. Yes, the inevitable is coming in a month or 2 from then, winter in Wisconsin, which is not fun. But for that month and a half, you've got your nice warm cup of coffee. Maybe you have rock the windows open, watch a little college game day, football season's in the air. So I think I got to give that to fall. Fall's my favorite season, so I think I have to lean that way, even though the warm air coming out of winter too is also a great day too. But I think just very, very close second.
For me, bloody season, football season is bloody season as well.
Yes.
So that also, you got to give a little bit of an edge to the fall there, as well as some bourbon sipping season.
Yeah,
is kind of football season. I mean,
it's nice
old fashioned in the
stouts.
Summer doesn't hit as well as an old fashioned in the winter, to be honest. I mean, whether you're a bourbon or brandy old fashioned, I know they do it differently up in your neck of the woods, where down here it's generally bourbon. But I mean, great toss-up question. I mean, I could go either way. We've talked multiple times about what's your favorite sports month, September, October, or, kind of like March, April. This is a similar type of a question, but, both amazing for different reasons, I guess.
Yep. Shout out to a loyal listener, Michael Palmer, with the suggestion for our question of the day. So thanks, Mike. And
Oh,
if you want to get a plug as well, you can send us in any questions of the day that you might have. You can find us at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. You can find Gel at Dawson Gel. I'm at Dawson JPEG. Send us any questions there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. We are rocking YouTube as well. Subscribe, click the bell so that way you know when our live episodes drop. Usually have 2 live drops a week now. Jill and I doing our thing with fantasy football, NFL, college, and Critter newly joining the Dead Arm Sports family, has the NBA podcast with you, Jill, that come out weekly as well. So we got 2 opportunities to ask live questions to us. So again, make sure you subscribe to all of our socials, all of our listening platforms, wherever you prefer to listen to us, whether that's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you want to. That's it. And subscribe. You leave us a review, send us a screenshot, get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail for free. All right, Jill, on the light beer train today. Seems like that's been the general trend lately for you on this podcast. So what you got
I'm
today?
so pissed. I went to the grocery store and I didn't make a list because I was like, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of chicken breast. I'm going to buy some romaine lettuce and I'm going to get a sixer. And I forgot the fucking beer. How do I forget the beer?
That's embarrassing.
Come on.
That's embarrassing.
Sure is. So I had Miller in the fridge. So that's what it is.
Nice.
I apologize.
What were you going to get?
I was going to see if there was an Oktoberfest. You kind of got me in the mood.
Yeah. I unfortunately drank my last Oktoberfest earlier in the weekend, or I think on Saturday actually, but no Busch Light train for this guy.
Hey!
So, yep.
I've got one Busch Light in the fridge, so maybe that may
be social on our college football episode. We'll see.
Ooh, spoiler alert.
Yeah, tune in, find out on Thursday. All right, Jill, let's get some golf underway here. Had our second to last tournament of the golf season this last weekend, BMW Championship up in Delaware, and Patrick Cantley, wire to wire there, wins again. Second time he's won the BMW Championship, won it last season, and moves to second now in the rankings. So behind Scotty Scheffler. We'll talk Tour Championship here in a second. But, Patrick Cantley, this seems to be his time of year to shine right at the end of August.
Same thing with last year. He ended up winning the FedEx Cup last year with a cool 15 mil for not too shabby of a takeaway not last year. So he's obviously looking to I guess go double down on that. But he's had just overall phenomenal season. I believe former PGA rookie of the year. So he's been there. It's not like he's, a no name anymore, but it's kind of been Scotty Scheffler's FedEx Cup to lose, and he still is at the top. Scheffler still is up at the top, but Cantley's giving him a nice run for his money. And obviously Cantley, like you said, just likes to shine in August. Same thing that he did last year. So, we'll see what he can put together this upcoming week and at the Tour Championship. But playing some hot golf, I don't see why he can't get it done.
No, not at all. He's going to start.
However, Scheffler did have a really solid. I believe he went T4. So he ended up having a solid, very solid BMW Championship as well. So it's not like this is still a pretty steep hill to climb for Cantley, but it's doable for him to reach what Cantley's got, the perch that Cantley's been sitting on since the Masters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll get to kind of where everybody's sitting going into the Tour Championship. It's that time of year now where they've been doing FedEx Cup points all season, and now the FedEx Cup points translate into what stroke you start out at to start out the tournament, to kind of give it a different look for
pretty
the
cool
last tournament. I like it too. But wanted to give a shout out to Sahith Theegala, Sepp Straka, both rookies this year, making the Tour Championship in their
That's
inaugural
impressive.
season. So finishing that top 30. So not
And both did have really good years. I mean, both up on the leaderboard in multiple tournaments all season long. It's not like they, just got hot at the last second. They've been, like you said, I guess amongst that top 30 all year long. So of course the Gala had and Straka both had their weeks where they just were non-competitive, but every golfer has those weeks where, I mean, so it's impressive what they've been able to do, and you gotta be happy for those guys.
Yeah. Had some news come out today in the golf world. Just kind of wanted to throw this in that Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have teamed up to create PGA Tour event. They're kind of doing their own company, I guess. Was it TMRW? So I think it's Tiger, McIlroy, Rory Woods is what I'm assuming what those initials are.
Oh, I was thinking it was like tomorrow, and because it's
or maybe,
that's what I put together tomorrow.
That's what they did, but I just thought it was weird with their
your
initials.
Acronym makes sense. It definitely makes sense given their
I don't
names.
know if it is, but yeah.
I was thinking tomorrow, just given that it's it's a technology based company, sports entertainment company. You may know more than I do. That's about all that I know, is that it's a sports entertainment, technology based, which of course it should be. I don't know another way you could create a sports entertainment company at this point, but right. I haven't seen a whole lot of details. Maybe you can expand a little bit.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot out there right now about it, other than it sounds like it's going to be like 1-day events that are going to complement the PGA Tour schedule starting in 2024. So it can be like stadium environments. They haven't really said too much else, but I think it's just kind of another way to promote the PGA Tour right now. I'm not sure if this was something that was discussed in that Tiger players only meeting.
I think it had
this last week. So,
and this is going to no live players, I would assume.
No, it's just PGA Tour.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think they're just trying to get more events out there, get some more money generated, and just kind of gauge more interest and fan interest. I mean, who doesn't want more golf and want different unique events throughout the PGA Tour season instead of just your traditional tournaments and everything like that? I still want to have
every year since they started the match back. How far back are we going? 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, I want to say it was like the year pre-COVID, maybe 2019.
That's probably, it's got to be something like that. So, and that generates buzz every single year. Whether it's, and who knows, maybe some of those events will be kind of, pro-ams where you've got Tiger paired up with Tom, and it's, Team GOAT versus maybe Phil and like Jim Kelly. So it's like Team GOAT versus Team Second Place or something like that. That, although Phil obviously wouldn't be in there, but you know what I'm saying. Just kind of some fun events like that, which I love. And golf, I mean, especially in the middle of, the dog days of the PGA Tour season, can get a little stale. So this is something that, even the professionals don't want to play in some of these events. So they even feel that it gets kind of stale. So love that they're trying something new, and the innovation that, the two real voices of the PGA Tour, those two guys coming together, it's encouraging.
Still waiting for the day. Have my fingers crossed that the PGA has one event throughout the season that's like a 2-man scramble. I think that would just be absolutely awesome. We have the 2-man best ball and alternate shot that the Zurich Championship down in Louisiana does. But I still think that would be pretty sweet if they do like a 2-man scramble format. Just one start. Tournament. Yeah, shotgun start. Beers flowing. Let's get after it.
John Daly is definitely invited to that one.
Right?
Ripping heaters on the tee box.
Somebody who won't be ripping anything off the tee box because he hurt his back is Will Zalatoris. So two herniated discs, and unfortunately he's going to be missing the Tour Championship and the President's Cup later on in the year. So had a phenomenal season coming off of a victory a couple of weeks back, and Yeah, it's unfortunate timing. I know he would have been right in the middle of this and right in the hunt for the Tour Championship and the starting standings for the tournament, but unfortunately, his season has come to an end.
What's curious about this is that Zalatoris is still pegged as the number 4 favorite to win the FedEx Cup. That would require an absolute the rest of the field would have to completely shit themselves, but he's behind just Scheffler, Cantley, and Xander Schauffele, and then Zalatoris there in terms of odds to win the playoff. So the FedEx Cup championship, which is insane. But
well, especially, I don't even think
good
it's
for
possible because it's whoever wins the tournament wins the championship.
Well, so if he maintained his current score, though, and everybody else that's ahead of him ends up going, over par or something in this final round, and his score ends up still being at the top, is that how that would work?
I don't know, because I think since he can't play in it, I don't know if they've added if like the number 31 ranked player got thrown into the top 30 or what, but yeah, because I thought you had to compete because like that's how Tour Championship, we'll just kind of throw it out and get into that right now. It starts off based on the FedEx Cup standings right now. So Scotty Scheffler's at the top. He's starting off at 10 under par to kick off the tournament. Before he even swings a club, he's at 10 under par. Patrick Cantley's at 8 under. Xander Schauffele's at 6. Burns is at 5, Cam Smith, McIlroy, Finau, Straka, Sungjae Im are at 4, and then you got kind of on down the list down to a handful of guys at even par. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess then I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I don't
unless
know.
I was looking at outdated
or something,
odds or
maybe.
Something. But I mean, this.
Yeah, even
it
so,
obviously would have been
insane.
a fresh list.
Yeah, but no, it's. He was one of the favorites. I mean, if he was right behind Scheffler, Cantley, Schauffele, he would have been sitting right there at -5. So only 5 shots back. And I think he would have had a really good shot at winning this thing. So definitely would have been somebody to throw some cash down on there. But no, Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club right outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm in the ATL.
One of my favorite holes that is just an absolute daunting tee shot that I would be shaking in my shoes over is hole 15, 211 yards, pretty much straight over water. You have to hit the green. It's a peninsula green. There's a sand trap on the left and just an absolute monster hole. So I think it ranges anywhere from like the 211 mark. And I think some days they can move it back to even like 220, 225. So, and it's just, you have to carry water to the green. So it's, yeah, just absolute chaos can happen on that hole. And again, it's 4 holes before the final 18th. So yeah, that's one of my favorite holes there. Pretty tight course, old course, and fun to watch golf on, and should be a fantastic tournament.
Yeah, hole 8 as well. A lot of water there, basically lining the entire left side of the fairway. So, and up to the green. Really, that it's a giant lake. I mean, so there's plenty of water out there. So
I wonder if that's why it's called East Lake.
Where's West Lake?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, it looks. I mean, it's a pretty gorgeous course. 15, yeah. I mean, there's the they've got a small grandstand there. It's certainly not on the level of hole 16 at the Phoenix, but it's a little bit of that there. But yeah, I'd be shaking in my boots.
Oh yeah. Any betting favorites? I'm assuming it probably just kind of coincides with where guys are starting off on this one. I'm assuming Scheffler is probably the betting favorite.
I looked at the betting favorites also for who's going to actually finish at the top with this tournament. So the guys that I read off at first, Scheffler, Cantley, Xander, Zalatoris for some reason, and Rory are with the current, with how they're starting off. That's how they're ranked, but not including how they're starting off. It's going in order of Xander Xander, Cantley, and Rory all tied at plus 800. John Rahm plus 900 and Scotty Scheffler plus 1,000. So obviously 5 of the top guys in golf.
All right, Gel, it's our last pick'em of the year. I'm getting my ass kicked, so I'm just looking to gain some momentum heading into next season. Going to go
about time you do so, because I got
on a winning
even
note.
though even after, and jumping back to the BMW, even after Morikawa shot an 8 over on Sunday, he still ended up finishing 1 under after, what was it, a 4 putt, and then followed that next
and followed it with a perfect 10 on the next hole.
Even with that 8 over on Sunday from Colin, I still gained a stroke on you with your Justin Thomas pick.
Yeah, Justin Thomas had a hot start to the tournament and then just absolutely shit the bed from there out. It was just over par, I think, every single day after that. So it was not a great showing, and so
not great, Bob.
Not great at all. So if this is your first time listening into the show, welcome in. Click subscribe so that way you can keep listening to our wonderful work of art here. But we've been picking golfers ever since the Century Tournament of Champions back in January. Whatever that golfer's stroke to par ratio is, then that's what score you get. Doesn't matter if they make the cut or not. Once you pick a golfer, can't pick them again. So kind of using a little strategery there to pick our golfers. But no, this is our last one. Was going through the list again, 30 golfers to pick from, and probably about 15 to 16 of them have already been used. So just going down the list, and I was shocked to find out that neither of us have picked Xander Schauffele. So I'm going to lock in Xander Schauffele since he's sitting at -6 right now. And looking over the golfers that you picked, Joe, I think the next one up for you, you can pick is Sepp Straka at -4, Scott Stallings, Cam Young at -3. So
it's Straka, baby. Straka? It's Sepp Straka. I went longest odds to win the tournament, or to win this week's event is Sepp Straka at plus 25,000.
Dang.
So I'm rolling with Big Sepp. You
putting your money where your mouth is this week?
Not at all. I'd probably not at all. I'm running low on funds. Okay. Yeah. not looking to send any more to the this is all for entertainment purposes only.
Correct.
This is of course. Sepp finished with the 3 under on Sunday, T28. So, he's really right on that cut line, basically, with how he finished off last week. But I'm loving the plus 25,000 on good old Sepp right now. So let's lock him in. I was going to go Xander, but I assumed that no brainer that you were going to take him.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that he's still on the board. I almost took him last week too, and went Morikawa instead. Obviously, if I had gone Xander, then I would have ended up working out a little bit more in my favor.
My goal going into this week, since I'm so far out of it, I literally looked at your golfers and found the first one that you didn't have. And I was like, oh, I haven't used Xander either. This is perfect. Because he's sitting in the 3rd spot right now. So, and he's hot right now. He's been playing some good golf, and should be.
He's great. He's obviously really good when it comes down to, big time tournaments, taking home the gold in the Olympics, winning his first major this season. So I'm down with Xander, but Straka, make her sing, baby.
Yes. Xander hot, Yankees not. So Yankees are sliding out of the All-Star break, and not in a good way. So going to jump over to some MLB right now. And Yankees made a couple moves at the deadline, had a nice commanding division lead, and that is down to 5 games, I think, somewhere in there. It's not looking good in the Bronx, but
they had such a commanding division lead that it's, even with them having the 4th worst record in baseball since the All-Star game at 10-20, for them to still have this large of a lead, that's pretty impressive.
Right now over the Rays.
So they're still 8 over. That's or 8-game lead. That's just that's insanity. And like I said, the for them to, that just shows how incredibly impressive their first half was.
Yeah. No, and Toronto, Tampa Bay, right on their heels. They've been playing some hot baseball. Toronto had a nice winning series against the Yankees this last weekend. So there's a lot of good races right now. I mean, the AL Central, Cleveland's up 2 games on the Twins. White Sox are clawing their way back into it. They're only 3 out. And then Houston's running away with the West, but Seattle's fighting for that playoff spot right now. That was a team that I think you and I were both pretty high on in our preview episode. So they're playing some pretty good baseball right now as well. 11.
I mean, Julio Rodriguez is just ridiculous. Yeah. He's basically running away with that AL Rookie of the Year. Bobby Witt's probably in a comfortable 2nd or 3rd place in that race, but Julio is just, I mean, he's torching the field there. And so we were talking
my Spencer Torkelson pick, Joe.
I think he's back in AAA again.
Yeah, so. I believe so.
not getting it done there, but no, we were saying after last season, could Fernando Tatis be the future face of baseball? And now it may be Julio Rodriguez. But if you hadn't heard the news, which would be a shock by now, Tatis was suspended 80 games for PED use. Yes. He started making up his first excuse was it was ringworm medication because he had ringworm. His second excuse, actually, this came from his father, Fernando Sr. You probably could have figured out his dad's name, given that his name is Junior. But
in case, that's what we're here
just
for.
Just in case, Fernando Tatis Sr. Said that it was a chemical used to treat a fungus that Fernando got from a haircut, and somehow a fungus got into his scalp or something, or tangled in his hair. I don't know. But bottom line, this is what he tested positive for is an anabolic steroid. So just come out and math doesn't check out. Sorry, bub.
No.
But I mean, it was just announced today that he's going to have surgery on his left shoulder now that he's got the rest of this season, an entire offseason, plus some of next season. I believe it's about 40. I think it's 42 games next season.
Okay.
No, math doesn't check out there.
I bet you it's pretty close, though.
It's somewhere around there. Maybe it's 42 left in this season and 38 next season or something. So he's going to have surgery on his left shoulder. And hoping, obviously, that he's fully recovered by the time that he is eligible to return. He has had issues with that shoulder over his first 2. Well, really, I guess I should just say all last season because he hasn't played it all this year. God, they gave him that 13-year deal, and he didn't even have 1 full year of major league service time under his belt. I mean, this is what the Padres do, I guess. And sticking with the Padres, since making the massive deal for Josh Hader, he's got a 16.20 ERA.
That's good, right?
That's not great, Bob. So, yeah, that trade so far for San Diego hasn't worked out. They have they have not been playing well since the deadline, since making the move to those 2 giant moves, getting Juan Soto and Josh Hader. Soto's been himself, playing just fine, but Hader has not been it. Clearly, based on that number, they didn't demote him, but they said they were going to give him some time off for what they're claiming is arm fatigue. Great time to trade for him if you think that there could be arm fatigue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Padres being the Padres, I guess. I mean, historically, when's the last in your life? Have they been genuinely relevant for a pennant run?
Yes. Early on, what was it? 98. I think they were in the world. They make it to the World Series, lose, get swept by the Yankees. I think one of those years.
If it's the late 90s, they probably got swept by the Yankees.
I think it was then, but otherwise, no. I mean, they've had some playoff series wins, or at least made interesting series the last couple of years, but no, other than that, it seems like unfortunately, I mean, San Diego, we've been there, it's an awesome place, but for their baseball fans, it's been not great.
Not great, Bob.
No, the other side of the Josh Hader trade too. Want to touch on your Brew Crew gel? They scuffling a little bit out of the All-Star break as well. They're sitting 4.5 as of this recording right now. Half game better thanks to my Chicago Cubs beating the Cardinals today. But
Wave
no,
that flag.
oh yeah, fly the W, baby. But no, the Crew scuffling a little bit there. But what's going on in Brewtown, Joe?
I mean, really, the Brewers. Okay, first off, they didn't acquire a bat at the deadline. That made no sense to me. There's plenty of opportunity. There's guys out there that can help. Corner infield has been, Luis Urias has been fine, but I would much rather have him be in a utility role type of player and still getting plenty of playing time, but not an everyday third baseman. You need that everyday third baseman to be look at the Cardinals, what they're doing, an Arenado type of guy, and nobody's on his level, obviously, but you need to have a significant power source at third base at both your corner infield spots to be a true contender. I mean, example A, again, the Cardinals, Arenado, Goldschmidt, two of the top three guys in the NL MVP race, if not 1 and 2. So really to roll out their Rowdy Tellez and Luis Urias on a daily basis as your corner infielders, that's not going to get it done. It just won't. And it was disheartening as a Brewers fan to not go get one of those bats. They got a little bit of they got a decent prospect haul back in the Hader trade. Could have flipped some other guys to get a short-term, even if it's just a rental bat, a Nelson Cruz kind of guy where, at least, he's a power source. So that was a little bit disheartening, but to add to that, their pitching, it was supposed to be phenomenal. I mean, top 3, top 5 in major leagues. And right now they're sitting from a ton of different pitching metrics between 13 and 15. And that's not going to cut it when we're talking about an offense that's been struggling all year going into the year. We knew Brewers fans knew that pitching was going to have to carry the team, and hopefully the offense could do enough to win the division, but the pitching hasn't been there, and therefore the wins haven't been there. And it's no surprise to me that that the Brewers aren't atop the division right now. On a positive note, they did get a 4-0 win at Dodger Stadium. That's the first time that the Dodgers had been shut out at Dodger Stadium since 2019.
That's crazy.
That's a fun stat. But sticking with the Dodgers, it was just announced, we knew Walker Buehler had been shut down for the season prior to this, but it was announced very shortly before this recording that he's now having Tommy John surgery. So that puts his 2023 season now in jeopardy. And I guess my question for you, how much now are they not regretting grabbing an arm at the deadline? I mean, years past, it looked like their rotation was completely set. They still went out and got Max Scherzer last season, knowing that he's a rental. Frankie Montas out. He was traded. Syndergaard traded. Tyler Mahle traded. Jordan Montgomery, Luis Castillo. Those two guys have been traded. Castillo's been pretty strong for the Mariners. Jordan Montgomery has been ridiculous since coming over to St. Louis. So
yeah, he had a phenomenal game through his, I think, first complete game yesterday against the Cubs and first shutout too. So it was, he's been tearing it up.
I mean, it's just shocking to see that the Dodgers don't go get. They've been been really aggressive at the deadline in recent years, and this is the first time we haven't had it. Now it looks like it's going to bite them in the butt.
Yeah, because you'd mentioned Scherzer came over last year. Was it the year before that both Betts and David Price came over from the Red Sox? And
yeah.
So, yeah, they usually get one of the best bats on the trade market and one of the best starting pitchers on the trade market. To see them not get some depth in that starting pitching was a little shocking. And now it's definitely coming back to bite them in the butt a little bit. So, Wonder once the playoffs roll around if they're going to try and work off of 3-man rotation or what they're going to end up doing there. So it'll be interesting to see what old Dave Martinez does in the skipper position.
He pretty much guaranteed a World Series at the start of the year that they were going to win it. So he's got a little bit riding on this one.
Yes, he does. Any more MLB thoughts that you want to throw out, Jill?
That'll probably do it for now.
Sounds good. All right, going to transition over to the NFL. Let's jump across the country here, Jill, to Matt Carolina, who now is shut down for the season. Had a injury in the preseason, so unfortunately his rookie campaign is coming to an end. And Baker Mayfield, shocker, starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers heading into the season. Doesn't really come as any surprise there. If Sam Darnold won that job, I think we could probably end this podcast and never record again, because that'd be
the end of that'd be the end of Matt Rule.
Yes,
before the season.
Week 2 is in the books for the preseason. We have one more week left, and then we've got a week and a half before the start of the season on Thursday Night Football. What were some of your takeaways from this last weekend? I pretty much want to talk about some of the rookies out there. Romeo Doubs looked pretty decent, reeled in a touchdown. Jordan Love actually looked serviceable in that preseason game against the Saints, but Romeo Doubs,
I mean, he's okay, but Love still only completed 50% of his balls.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
His accuracy, and he was making some better throws, but he's not going to be an NFL starter at any point in time. But Romeo Doubs is the one, though, that I wanted to talk about from this. Do you see, is he going to be starting for them? Is he going to be able to jump Sammy Watkins in the depth chart, Randall Cobb? I mean,
I'm not in on Sammy Watkins
I'm
whatsoever,
not either, but
on whether, as a Packer starter or fantasy wise, obviously not fantasy wise, knowing that week 2, he's just about done from there on. So
yes.
that's the rule on the show. But no, I think Romeo Doubs he's shown that he should be their opposite of Allen Lazard. And that should be the starting wide receiver duo. Then ideally, I guess you do have a Sammy Watkins, potentially Randall Cobb. I don't like that. Is
there any Amari Rodgers hype at all out of camp? I mean, how has he been looking?
No.
I mean, he
hasn't done shit either. I mean, this wide receiver room is worse than I even thought it could be. But we do, and maybe
still
Christian Watson ends up. That's true. Maybe Christian Watson at least is able to show some flashes at some point this season. But to start off this season, he's been out all camp, so we haven't seen Watson in the preseason at all. Hopefully he shows that he's at least worth something this season. But I will say, I feel like Rodgers, he may have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder going into this season, knowing that, and a little bit more focus, knowing that he can't just rely on Devontae, and he's really, we've seen in a couple different press conferences that he's been talking down about the receivers and saying, we need to hold these players to higher expectations and they need to perform better. But at the same time, this week, I believe it was either Monday or over the weekend, he did say that Doubs, he did have some very complimentary words about Romeo Doubs, and it's just about these guys stepping up and really making a difference. But I think this Rodgers, knowing that Devontae's can't just be his safety blanket on every play. If he wants to play well, he wants his teams to succeed, he's going to have to be extremely focused and extremely, both holding his guys accountable, but also supportive. And we've seen in the past, which this drove me absolutely effing apeshit every time, when he would throw a ball and it wasn't, maybe the receiver was a half second late on their break or something. And instead of Rodgers telling the guy, like, dude, I need you to break one step shorter than where you did, and we would have been perfect on that play. instead of saying that, he would just roll his eyes and kind of, and just this passive aggressive attitude. And I think now he's showing some true, some actual leadership, giving some constructive criticism. And that's the part that I do like to see out of Rodgers. And I think it's because he knows, maybe he's not bored. Maybe he was just bored knowing, I can throw 150 balls to Devontae Adams and about 80% of them will be caught. So, or better. So I guess I like to see this side of Rodgers, but still don't like the talent in that room at all.
No, it'll be interesting. Again, this is all with Jordan Love under quarterback. Rodgers historically has not played in the preseason. That won't be changing this year, nor should it. You don't need to risk his injury in the preseason. He'll be fine, ready to go once the season rolls around. Staying in that quarterback room, Kenny Pickett is having a pretty solid preseason so far. Was 6 of 7, 76 yards and a touchdown this last week. Mitch Trubisky, 5 of 8 for 60 yards. Just, kissing
very
titties
Mitchie.
Is
Mitchie,
a Mitchie performance for sure. But would the Steelers be better off with Kenny Pickett starting the season off as their starting quarterback? Do you think he will win that job?
I mean, I said this last week when we were recording that Pickett needs to start week 1. And now I'm pissed because I'm now seeing that on Fox, on ESPN, on Bleacher Report.
That's because they listen to our podcast, Joe.
And I'm okay, then I better be getting credit for what I'm saying, but I didn't hear a lick of a word out of those 3 platforms. Didn't get a single mention. So no, they're out here stealing takes, stealing thoughts, and I'm pissed. Yes, Kenny Pickett, just to reiterate exactly what I said last week that was stolen from me. Yes, Kenny Pickett needs to start week 1. The Steelers are wasting their own time, wasting everybody's time, wasting Trubisky's time if they don't go Kenny Pickett week 1. Cut Mason Rudolph's ass and his reindeer ass and put him on the pine, get Pickett out there week 1. That's obviously going to be the best solution out there. He's completely obviously familiar with the city, familiar with that stadium, familiar with all the facilities. University of Pittsburgh and the Steelers share the same facilities. Their offices are literally like University of Pittsburgh side is on the left side. Once you walk into that office area, the Steelers are on the right side. He's as familiar as possible. Clearly a better player than Mitch based on what we've seen this preseason. And I don't know, freaking major platforms out here stealing my juice. I'm done.
Well, we got somebody watching in the chat here that shout out to John, says Schefter don't know, we stand with DOS. So appreciate it, John.
That a boy, John K. Wild card, baby.
Yes. Last topic I want to talk to, and then I'll kick it over to you for some of your takeaways, Jell. Chris Olave had a nice game for the Saints, opposite of the Packers that we were talking about. Had a nice touchdown grab. Have news coming out of camp again. Michael Thomas, hamstring issues, soft tissue issues there. Yeah.
Shocker of the world. But shock the nation.
Fantasy related here, is Chris Olave going to end up as the receiver to have in the New Orleans offense this year? Alvin Kamara, the suspension we're not sure on. He's going to take obviously a ton of targets there, but I'm thinking that Chris Olave is the one that you want to have for fantasy in this New Orleans offense outside of Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Olave make a nice touchdown catch this past weekend. He looks like he's a number 1 guy already. I mean, he just the way that he contorted his body to make that catch that's number 1 receiver stuff, and it's stuff that we as Badger fans, Jay Peck and I had seen for years, and it's he was so productive at Ohio State. I think that's going to translate to the NFL. Michael Thomas, I think this hamstring injury for me it may boost Olave a little bit, but I think the bigger impact that you'll see fantasy wise may be more action for Alvin Kamara. We all know he's a good passing down back as well. So good receiving back. they could be playing him in the slot as well. I mean, the guy's he's got the ability, he's got the skill, he's got the route running ability. So I think that Kamara may be a little bit more significant of a beneficiary if Michael Thomas, if this hamstring issue is a lingering one. But Olave, I think I is the one that I'd probably rather own. There is still the potential if Thomas can stay on the field, which that's the biggest question mark that has been, haunting him for 3 years now, at least 2.
Yeah.
And if he can't stay on the field, he did lead the league in receptions one season before the injury started happening. So if he can stay on the field, the ability is there. It's just a question of, can he stay on the field? But Olave looks legit. You got to be happy if you're a Saints fan that you're able to snag him, and he'll be the future number one for, it could be a decade-long run that he'll have with the Saints.
Yep. That was pretty much my takeaways, Joe. What were some of the takeaways you had from watching the preseason this last weekend?
Yeah, I'm just going to go over to New England. We touched before on the fact that Belichick doesn't have an offensive coordinator. He's got Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as play callers. Those are their assigned duties right now.
Successful head coaches, right?
I think they were both fired after year 2. That's how bad it was. They didn't even get, 3-4 years. Yes, it was twice the length of Jim Tomsula, I guess, but that's a pretty low bar. A little bit longer than Urban Meyer as well. But Matt Patricia was a defensive coordinator under Belichick. Joe Judge was a special teams coordinator under Bill Belichick. Now he has them as again, not by title offensive coordinator, but kind of the de facto offensive coordinator / play caller on offense. I don't know what the thought process is there. I'd imagine Belichick just week 1, he's going to say, screw you guys, get out of my way. I'm calling plays on both defense and offense. Like I would not be shocked if that's where this goes, but it's really showing right now in the way that Mac Jones is playing. There'd been reports that he'd been kind of confused with the offense, a little bit, lost in the sauce, because he's hearing 3 different voices on how this offense should be led and everything. And he got some game action in week 2, and he went 4 for 8 for 61 yards. He did have a 45 yarder, but that means his other 7 attempts added up to a total of 16 yards. That ain't it. So, no. Took a sack. Your had a QBR of 75.5. The average is 100. So very well below average performance. And this is preseason ball. So he's not even going against a number 1 defense. He's playing against maybe a few starters, but primarily backups and guys that may not even make the roster. And he's going 4 for 8 with a QBR well below average. Belichick's he's got to do something fast if he wants this to work this season.
Yeah, well, Mac Jones is kind of suffering from what Justin Fields is in Chicago, that he just isn't getting these superstar weapons around him to help him out. Yeah, they've always had a decent run game and usually a productive run game, but you've got Devontae Parker, who came over from Miami this year, which he's had, 1 good season, and it took him 4 seasons to even have a good season.
And it wasn't even that great.
And it wasn't that great.
And he still can't separate, which, let's be honest, unless you've got a Russell Wilson, a Peyton Manning, that type of player that are just generally precise, and Aaron Rodgers, you need guys to separate. Mac Jones doesn't have that kind of an arm to fit the ball into extremely tight windows, so Devontae Parker's only advantage really is on jump balls, and which Mac does throw a pretty nice deep ball, but so he may be a red zone threat, but not a good enough. It's not a wide receiver 1.
No, and you've got Jacoby Meyer there, which he's solid, but he's a 2 on most teams.
Right.
And you've got Nelson Aguilar, which his best days are behind him as well. They drafted Tyquan Thornton, speedster out of Baylor, but he has a collarbone injury now, is going to be out for 8 weeks. So that doesn't help out there at all. So he's back to exactly what he had last year, plus Devontae Parker, which isn't anything.
Not great, Bob.
You're going to end up seeing the same thing. And I think he's going to be held back by the lack of receivers out there for him to throw the ball to, which that is what it is. I mean, Tom Brady found ways to win, but it's also Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
Okay, let's slow the roll on this one.
You could put a bunch of offensive linemen out there, and Tom Brady would figure out a way to win with them.
He literally won Super Bowls throwing the ball to linebackers, to Teddy Bruschi.
Yeah,
like he'll figure it out.
Yeah. So Mac again, he's in. Bill Belichick obviously has a lot of experience in the head coaching department. It's a lot of success, but they're not doing enough to help out Mac Jones at this point in time. So, yeah. And I think to go along with what you said with Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, it's kind of a win-win for Bill Belichick. If their offense sucks, he's got two scapegoats there to blame on the offense. So that's,
I guess that's one way to think about it, but also it's falls on Belichick for hiring them to be in charge of the offense. Like, what are we doing? I got one last note real quick. So there was all that talk about how the Cardinals had to put in Kyler Murray's new contract that they're requiring at-home study 4 hours a week. Not a very daunting task, but it's very telling that they felt the need to put that in writing in a contract. That tells the whole story of, how Kyler preps, or basically shows that Kyler doesn't feel like he needs to prep at all. He also said in previous interviews that he doesn't really do much prep. He can kind of see the field, see the action before it happens while he's on the field. Yeah, I mean, that's what gets you injured every single year, by not calling out of audibles, by not doing that film study, not recognizing that a blitz is coming from the safety, or that a safety may be showing blitz, but instead you get extra pressure on the left side. That's why he ends up getting hurt every year, which par for the course. So this past week, Cliff Kingsbury handed over the play calling duties in the fourth quarter over to Kyler. And I mean, reviews are that he wasn't too shabby, but it shows that, Kyler, you're not getting away with this anymore. We're going to force you to figure out a way to manage an offense, to play call an offense. This is how you need to study. This is how you need to set up plays now so that you can use them again later in the game, set something up for a future play. So I definitely like what the Cardinals are doing and really forcing him and, to be accountable and add those additional responsibilities to, put that shit on his plate. Because if they want him to be a franchise QB, he's got to take that next step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like seeing that too. And maybe this will help with his maturity too, and get him to focus more, get the playbook down. Obviously, like you said, they put that into his contract for a reason, whether they knew that was going to potentially get leaked out there or not. But either way, it was out there. They wanted it to make known to him and the public that he needs to spend a little bit more time and not just show up and play. So no, I liked it. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think other teams should probably do that too. I mean, it definitely helps get them in a mindset to kind of get the game flow down, know what the plays are that they're calling and everything. So I thought it was a good thing all around. Yeah.
I mean, I like your thought too. Why not have all these guys, especially the ones that aren't playing, not saying Rodgers needs to do this, but some of the, maybe a Burrow, maybe that's how he takes the next step. Some of these younger guys that aren't going to be playing in the preseason. Burrow's, is he still recovering from that abdominal injury or the appendectomy, or is he back throwing again?
I think he's good to go. They're just not using him in the preseason. They shouldn't be using him in the games. No, but yeah, he should be good to go. So no issues there.
Yeah, we got a little bit of and just one final note. If you're betting preseason games, you might be a degenerate. You might be a redneck. You might be a degenerate. But lesson number 2, don't bet against the Ravens. They've won 22 straight preseason games. That's insane. That's insane. It's impressive.
What was it? The previous best was 19 with Vince Lombardi's Packers back in the 60s, I think.
And they're mopping the floor with Vince Lombardi's hat or with his his little fedora that he wore. So, yeah.
Trench coat.
In the trench coat.
Yes. No, it doesn't translate really to anything, but fun stat nonetheless. Fact. Yeah, absolutely. All right, that'll wrap it up for this episode. We'll be back on this one. Will be coming out Wednesday. You're listening to us on Wednesday. We'll have another episode for you on Thursday. It is going to be our college football preview episode. I am looking forward to that. Going to be fantastic, exciting. But again, we can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Gel can be found at DosGel. I can be found at DosJPEC. Make sure you check out our YouTube page, subscribe, click the bell so that way you know when our episodes drop. We've got Dead Arm Sports football content coming out. We've got NBA content on our side show there with Critter. So make sure you subscribe, get in all of the sports action that you want. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review our podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot, get you some sticker swag. Where else can they find us at, Joe?
Hit us up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods for you podcast listeners. We're also, as Josh mentioned, live on YouTube. Just search Dead Arm Sports in that in that search bar. Our channel should be the first thing that pops up on the at the top of your bar. Hit subscribe, hit that bell for the alerts, and you will get notifications every time that we go live, every time new content is out there. So just make sure you follow through on that and definitely spread the word. Keep the show growing.
All right. Again, that will do it for this episode. We'll be back with college football, one of my favorite episodes of the year, talking college football. Hopes are high to start off the season for your team, and we might tear them down. We might boost them up with some of our picks and predictions. So tune in on Thursday to find out. And Gel, close her out.
As the great movie based on a true story says it, movie being Dodgeball, Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto.